Welcome to Botox Cowboys episode 6. We have all sorts of stuff together to cover today. We're myth busting what some call ethical Botox pricing. We're breaking down Botox body contouring. We're revealing why all medical doctors and nurses should consider getting into aesthetics. And we're going to do a consult for our super wrinkly old friend, Kevin.
Yeah, let's do it, Tyler. I'm pumped to be here. And also, I think we've got a couple of things on the docket. I think that we've got to talk a little bit about your advice for people looking to build their own clinics. And I think you're due in for some forehead filler this month.
Oh my God, yeah, I'm back in Kelowna. So we haven't actually seen each other yet, but I've been back for a week. It is beautiful here. Wow. I've been all over the world. This place is still like tippy top, one of the most prettiest places on the planet.
Oh, what does that say about our friendship if your best buddy hasn't seen you in a week since you've been back?
Well, I've been working. You've been working. When are we going to do it?
All right. I think soon. Anyways, let's get to it.
All right. Botox for body contouring, dude. Let's dive into this first. You hear, about cool things like body sculpting, Ozempic, and all sorts of tightening devices, but let me have it. Where can Botox be used for contouring?
Well, really anywhere you want to shrink some muscles. And so certainly the industry, most people have heard
Wait. Why? What? Shrinking muscles? Is this a good idea?
This is exactly what Botox can do. And so for people who have very hypertrophied muscles, it can atrophy them if you use doses high enough. So, for someone like you who has Hercules calves, this could be a great opportunity for you to get a little wee bit more narrow.
You got a better chance on the lip flip, buddy.
It's kind of something I definitely need in my biceps just because they're so huge.
Incredible. Yeah, jumping through the screen at me here. Okay, tell me about the procedure then, Hulk.
Yeah, exactly. Hulk here will describe this to you. So we've all heard of cool sculpting. There are a number of weight loss medications out there, but specifically in any area of the body where a muscle is overly hypertrophied, you can use Botox to relax the muscle. And if you use enough of it, it can atrophy the muscle. So specifically, you hear about it in the shoulders for Barbie Botox, which is squaring off the shoulders rather than having a little bit more muscular shoulders. And for some people who want to shrink their calves to have a little bit of a narrower lower leg, Botox can be utilized there as well.
How long does it take once you've done this procedure for these muscles to atrophy and actually shrink?
Yeah, if you're dosed correctly, you should start seeing a slimming effect in as little as 6 to 8 weeks.
That's actually really quick. Okay, then dose correctly. How many units are you talking to actually do this?
So everyone is a little bit different. Some people come in with very, very large muscles that requires higher doses. So I would just say using very raw averages, you'd be typically looking at 50 to 100 units per calf muscle if you wanted to narrow it. So a half a vial to a full vial of Botox.
And for your biceps?
You need buckets of it.
So much. Is it painful? Actually, I guess, is it painful is maybe not even the question. Is it awkward to have partly working muscles?
In general, the gastroc and the soleus are very large muscles, and you're not atrophying the entire muscle, just part of the muscle. So no, in general, people that are wanting slimming procedures are not going to be the ones hitting up the gym, trying to get stronger. And so it's not like they're going to have limitations in their mobility. Certainly, if you went and did high dose Botox in a professional athlete's calves, this will be counterproductive, not such a good idea. And to answer your question about painful, procedure itself, you don't even feel anything. It's over in maybe 1 minute total. Very easy, very fast.
I still feel like it would be awkward. Like your calves are critical to walk. To have them partially working would certainly be a strange effect.
I was trying to think of some way to just say about your monster calves, but no, it's tolerated really well, and people come back for it.
Okay, so then if you atrophy them, and then the Botox wears off, assuming that's the same kind of 3 months that you're expecting out of Botox anywhere else, do they then just build these muscles back? This is something they have to do kind of in perpetuity?
Yes. So when you're doing higher dose neurotoxin treatments, they typically last longer. So while we're trying to use lower doses in our face to last 3 to 4 months, typically when we're using larger doses, I would expect there to be a longer effect. So my patients typically come back every 6 to 9 months once we're actually into therapeutic dosing to atrophy. And so certainly if they just stop doing the treatments, they will build back up that natural muscle strength as if nothing happened.
It's like you. Okay, I ask this on every single one. I'm going to start to stop. I'm going to stop asking because it seems like everything is like $1,000. But what does it cost to do this procedure? Say on average calves.
$1,000 to $2,000 every 6 months.
Okay, fair enough. We give me some thoughts on Botox pricing. I ask you this question on whenever we talk about anything.
I'm glad you asked that because I was reading about something the other day which stood out to me as peculiar. And I've seen some clinics advertise quote unquote ethical Botox pricing. And so typically the way these medications are priced is per unit. And it's just a standardized way where the more units you get, the more you pay. And on average, it's about $10 a unit. Now, what some clinics have started doing is they're saying, oh, we price per area, and patients should feel much better about that. But we're going to myth bust that, and that is complete nonsense. And the reason is that when you do per area pricing, so let's take your forehead, Tyler. So typically, your forehead's going to be around 24 units. So if you were in an average clinic, it'd be $240. But most clinics that do this area pricing are going to charge, say, $300 for a forehead. So you're going to wind up paying more than $10 per unit to get your forehead done. And the biggest problem is that it incentivizes the clinic to use the fewest number of units possible. And so if you actually look, people price forehead, they price in between the eyes and the 11s as a separate area, around the eyes as a separate area. And if you just use their averages where it's about $300, per area, some of these clinics can wind up making close to $20 a unit if they use few enough units of Botox. So it's a misalignment between objectives of the clinic and objectives of the patient, which is, long-lasting, effective results. And so I read that and I just rolled my eyes because that's like selling a can of beans.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense at all. So if you're maybe someone who has weaker muscles up there, you might get dosed correctly, but those who have stronger muscles, like truly need more, are going to be the ones that getting hooped on that.
Yeah, and I suppose there are going to be people out there with a very strong ethical and moral compass where they're just going to dose based on what strength they see. So, for instance, if a guy needed 200 units in his forehead, well, they're going to use, and obviously that's a large number for the point of exaggeration. People don't need that amount in their forehead, but let's say a very large number in their forehead, and they still charge $300. Good on the clinic for just sticking to their guns. But it's a little bit of gambling, and it's something where the injector, who's the one who's assigning the dose, certainly has the opportunity to make their treatments more profitable for themselves. So I would not line up for a clinic that doses based on area. And I get it. Some people don't want to really have the negotiation, and some injectors find price uncomfortable to talk about. But I think that's only weird if you make it weird. And the price is the price. This is the dose that I think you need. This is dosing a medication based on your muscle strength and what I think you need to achieve a nice cosmetic effect that lasts. Simple, have the talk, and make sure that you both have alignment in your objectives for the treatment.
Yeah, that makes sense, man. It seems like there are a lot of nuances to this business that you need to be aware of before getting into it, I guess.
Yeah, it's interesting how much misinformation there is on social media, and whether it's an injection technique or a pricing, in this instance, ethical, quote unquote, pricing, there's just so many false and misleading narratives. And certainly finding an injector that can actually talk to you about these, make sense of it. It's great to have somebody who can guide your aesthetics journey in an ethical way.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's an interesting field, but it's a great field, and there are a lot of people trying to get into it, aren't there?
Certainly, there has been a major, I'd say, peak of interest in physicians, nurses, dentists, and many other medical disciplines for getting into the cosmetics industry. And I think that some of the stigma towards it is eroding, and it is a wonderful career. And frankly, I was in the group of people that perhaps judged those in aesthetic as the dark side of medicine. And, when I think about where I am now, I recently gave a keynote speech at the largest emergency medicine conference in Canada. And it was very interesting seeing a large group of people, very few of which have exposure to aesthetics, being quite interested in it, but there also being a small subset, I'd probably say 5-10% of people who were clearly unhappy that they have to talk about aesthetics and who are very judgy about it and just not informed. And I would just say that in general, there's an openness of people who are finding out more about the field, realizing that it is real medicine and it is really great. I mean, think about the many pros. You get to work with your hands, specifically with regards to emergency. This is procedural skills is one of the main drivers for people going into that career. This is no different. You get to work with people who are very grateful for your health. And what a blessing that is, because much of whether it's medicine, dentistry, it's tough when people have their health compromised for people to feel grateful and for physicians to and medical professionals to feel that gratitude. You get to be artistic, which is something you most certainly don't get to be in the hospital. You get to be entrepreneurial, again, something that you really don't get to do when you're punching in and punching out on an hourly rate that's fixed. You get to manage your own time. You don't have to work overnight. And certainly there is the opportunity for prosperity and a strong revenue stream if you take this, very, very seriously. So it is a wonderful career, and it's changed my life in many positive ways.
I think you went in. I remember when you went into it, I think you did go into it kind of like, hey, we can make some money at this thing. Like everybody goes into anything they do with dollar signs in their eyes, of course, but it does actually seem like you feel more fulfilled and you actually enjoy your life a lot more than when you're working in the hospital. I remember you telling me that putting your finger in someone's butt made you $8. I forget where you did prostate exams. I don't know. But you're literally putting your finger in people's butts for $8, and there's absolutely none of that in this business. So
I forgot about that. That's a long time ago. Certainly, when you compare it directly to some of the fees that you get, if you resuscitate someone, save their life, and you make under $50, it can be a bit deflating at times. And yeah, actually, it was. If people want the raw truth, it was somebody saying they needed more help at their cosmetic clinic and, mentioning what they paid their physician that really caught me off guard, as it was certainly much different than what I was used to and in the hospital specifically. And yes, the careers evolved from there, and there's many pros. I would say that the financial upside comes after quite some time of hard work. Yeah, there's a lot of good in it.
Yeah, and I remember, Andrew, you were super frustrated in emergency sometimes. You're working crazy hours and it was not always great for you.
Yeah, I think that I would say the thing I don't miss, as I've given up my hospital privileges as of this past year, which was a big change for me, having worked my whole career to prepare for high acuity medicine and to have switched careers, I definitely do not miss the system. And I worked in both, the Canadian healthcare system and had lots of exposure to the American system during my schooling there. And while there is no perfect healthcare system, Canada's is fraught with challenges. We've got great doctors, great nurses, great people that are part of this system, but the system itself is broken. And there's some accountability lacking. When you have a completely publicly funded system, there are tremendous inefficiencies and very, I would say, poor distribution of resources. And speaking candidly, I found that there was a tremendous amount of waste and
Abuse,
perhaps time and abuse of a system. And when it's someone else's money, nobody really cares about it. And I mean, to use an example, and I mean from a cosmetic perspective, I'll just throw this out there because our American viewers might find this kind of interesting. Canada just approved gender affirming surgery. where in Ontario, our government approved a penile preserving vaginoplasty, deeming it medically necessary. And when you think about
What is that? What is
that's
that?
someone who wants both a penis and a vagina. I'm going to let you just marinate on that.
That is ridiculous. Medically necessary to have both.
Yeah, that's where tax dollars go. And so certainly I don't judge people for, if you want to go do what you want to yourself, by all means, but using taxpayer dollars for things like that, that's obviously one small example. But when you extrapolate what's behind that into a system that hemorrhages money, it's really difficult when you're putting your hard time and energy to try and do your best in the hospital and just seeing the amount of abuse to the toll of billions and billions of dollars, and a lot of people who are waiting a really long time or don't have actual access to healthcare. It's tough to want to be part of that. So the nice thing with private industry is that people will come to you and you have to provide a service. You have to be accountable to them, or else you'll lose the business, and things are pretty even and fair that way.
Do you think if I moved to Ontario, I could get Botox preserving forehead filler covered?
Wouldn't that be funny? I mean, by that same logic, I don't know. People could go to the government and say, hey, this is a medically necessary procedure. Make that case. I mean, if you can get that other thing approved.
That's insanity.
I actually want to hit Tyler with some questions that are related to aesthetics. As so many people,
I'm the question asking guy, dude. I don't answer the questions. I ask the questions. Whatever. This is a change. This is a change. I'm not comfortable with this change.
I'm the new Brooker here, so sit back and get ready. Many people get into aesthetics, as I mentioned previously, because they want to be entrepreneurs. And part of setting up your own space is you got to build a clinic. And for many people in medicine, this is a complete nightmare and they have no idea. So I'm just going to ask you some basic questions, as this is your world. So what are some general principles that medical professionals should keep in mind when they're looking to build a clinic and hire a contractor?
Okay, I think I want to be soft on the contractors. Definitely hire someone with experience, someone reputable, a company that has been around at least for a while. They're obviously going to somewhat know what they're doing, at least to the point you'll need them to. And they'll be there down the road if you have any problems. So I want to go soft on the contractor, but do your best, because it's really hard. Same as in your world, you can put before and afters up and everybody thinks that you're amazing, but you can't really see the inner workings of what people have done based on the finished product. So do your best with contractors. I would say the most important thing is having a designer, an architect, and a team of professionals if needed, if it's a new building, or even some of the build outs, depending on your jurisdiction and stuff like that, you're going to need engineers. And so make sure that team is good. Now, the kind of most important thing is that you bounce these two people off of each other. Much like if I came into the clinic and I said, what do I need? You would just, put thousands and thousands of dollars of Botox and filler all over the place and then try to make the perfect Tyler. Designers do that too, and so do engineers. They want to cover themselves. Designers want to design the most beautiful things, but realistically, that's not where you're going to land, especially as a startup. So take what these designers are doing and bounce it off the contractor. The contractor is going to know what's necessary. Maybe have some other ideas for getting around things that perhaps could not be necessary. Be flexible, I guess. Be flexible with your design. Yeah, I would say that's the two biggest things. Hire a reputable builder because you're not going to really know if they're a good one, but do a good job with design.
Okay, I'm going to direct you even more stringently here. So for medical professionals, keep it even more basic. Who are we getting first? Are we getting an architect, an engineer, a contractor first? A, B, C.
Yeah, that's a good question. And you can kind of go in any direction. Architects will have builders that they've worked with and that they like to work with, and builders will have architects that they like to work with. So maybe if you can get a referral for one or the other, just start there. It's a business where everybody kind of works together and is used to working together. There are only so many builders and there are only so many design professionals. So either way you go, it is, recommended to probably work with folks who have worked together before and had some good results.
Well, that was a very diplomatic and Canadian answer. Well done. Okay, now what are things that are, in general, keeping it very basic, what are things to avoid when building a clinic? Because certainly when I was building my first clinic, you could build with Egyptian stone, you could build things hanging from the ceilings, you could literally build anything. But what are some just basic, common things that add a ton of money and little functionality to a clinic, but will blow your budget?
Like the curved stairwell you put to the second floor of the one that I talked him. Here's a good example. I talked him out of a second floor and out of curved stairwell. That was ridiculous. No, the things, there's a few things that'll always kill you. There's certain structural things that will kill you if you have cantilevers and things like that when you're building a new building. If it's a build out, you kind of have to do what you have to do as far as mechanical and stuff like that. But brand names will kill you. So you can certainly get the look you're looking for without the brand names. And again, in the world of design, they start there. So your designer is going to say, "Oh, look at all these beautiful things we got," and it's like, yeah, but all of these other things look really, really similar, and they're nowhere near the price. So people aren't going to notice, for the most part, what kind of brand names you have in there. So be careful with that kind of stuff.
I ask you for basic and you throw the word cantilevers in there.
Cantilever. All right.
That's as good as saying cantaloupes to medical professionals.
Large covered areas without supports.
Yeah. So for our listeners, no curvies.
Curves can be, well, they are more expensive, but they can be, yeah. No, try to stay away from curved walls and things like that. Yeah. If you can keep things square, go with basic stuff like, flat stock baseboards. They're just square baseboards. There's nothing fancy about them. They're fine. It costs almost nothing. You can also spend, 8 times that on gigantic ones or ornate ones, or there's you can get anything you want, but ultimately your business is going to speak for itself. If you do something that looks nice, that's all you can do. Obviously, if you guys are getting into a different route, maybe this is your 3rd, 4th, 5th clinic, sure, go like crazy. But if you're just getting into this, to go back to your original question, I would stay classy but basic.
This is the last time I'm interviewing you ever. Now, the last question I need to ask. Well, maybe this is a question for the audience. I was thinking of a funny way to bust you out here, but to what extent should guys shave their legs? This is a cosmetic podcast, and I know you've had debates on an interpersonal level about this.
Shave their legs. Why? What, like if you're a biker or a swimmer?
You're not going to play along, I see. Okay, fine. Now's our time to assess our buddy Kevin. He didn't take the bait. He didn't take the bait.
I know what he's asking about. This is what he's asking about. When I became single a few years ago, I started to overanalyze everything about the way that you maintain your body. And I would love to know. I would actually love, I wish I could have asked this question to people like, I don't know, whatever, 2 years ago, or maybe it's been 3 years now. I forget. Anyways, where do you stop shaving your area in relation to your leg? Like, obviously, you can't just shave your area and then keep going all the way down to your knees or like your ankles. I don't know. So at some point, you have to stop. And I don't know where that spot is. So if you guys can help me out, all the listeners, guys and girls, please tell me where's the, and you can't just say make an area. If people say make an area, like where? Tell me where. Be specific. I want to know. Okay, now we can move on.
All right.
Let's assess awesome. Kevin.
Okay, well, first we got to introduce. So back to a serious note, given this is a Botox Cowboys podcast, we have a lovely old friend of ours named Kevy. Now, Kevin is a 6'4" father, married. He could be more handsome, but he really, I would say, does not prioritize appearance. What would be your recommendations for Kevin in breaking down the barrier to encourage him to get a treatment?
If you could drop that guy into a machine of Botox needles, like that just went and gave it to him on his entire body. I think that's what he needs.
He could really benefit from it. And, being serious, he could really benefit from that forehead filler that we were talking about, because he's got that, hollowing
He's got
out
the
brow.
Neanderthal brow.
He does.
And wrinkly. He's like an old catcher's mitt.
Ridden hard, put away wet. I mean, we love this guy, but this is going to be one of our first Botox Cowboys who gets a treatment.
Hey, public challenge, Kevy. You're coming into clinic. You can come when I come. We'll call you and we can all do this together. Don't worry, buddy. It's not going to be so bad. The missus is going to love it. She might kiss you for the first time this year.
I know, Kevy, you might get a smooch this year. I am hoping for you, buddy.
All right, that is it for this week. If you have a story or question about aesthetics, or to answer my super question about your area, as a patient or provider, we'd love to hear from you. You can ask us any day on our website, BotoxCowboys.com. And every Friday, we post a question box on Andrew's Instagram @TheAestheticsCoach. That's all for this week. Hit subscribe and download the episodes, please. And don't forget, this show is brought to you in partnership with True Story FM and produced by our very own Pete Wright, who desperately needs Andrew to inject him.
Also, we need to find out where Pete lives, because, we know he desperately needs it, but
you think we're going to have to force him into it like Kevin?
I think we might have to band him and Kevin together and get these two in.
Let's go. We're
Let's go,
finding you, Pete.
Cowboys.
We're coming for you, buddy.